I am not a tactical genius. I am not the smartest one when it comes to tactics. I'm just someone that observes the game. I just looked at the game again, found a few interesting things, and I decided to make a tactical breakdown for that. So take everything that I say with a grain of salt. Nothing that I say is 100% accurate, and everything is the way it is. But let's go. So to start off, we of course need to know the formations, as they are a little bit important to a football match. Now, as you can see, Arsenal line up as a traditional 4-2-3-1. However, they were playing much more like a 4-4-2, since they were through most of the game defending in a 4-4-2, which you'll see later on. But just know that the front two, the front three essentially, were really fluid and worked really well. They really interchanged a lot, so you could often see, for example, Mesut Ozil on the left. You could see Alexis Sanchez through the middle. Theo Walcott would often go to the right. So it was very fluid, and it worked really well. For Bayern Munich, the system was much more of a 4-3-3 than I wanted it to be. On paper, of course, we lined up as a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, depending on which sources you look at. But essentially, the way we set up was a 4-3-3, and Thiago, he actually dropped back a lot after like 20 to 30 minutes, which I was actually really displeased with, because I thought that when Thiago was playing further forward, he was great. But then, like, after 30 minutes or so, he dropped back and he was almost playing as a centre mid that didn't actually go forward whatsoever. So he was playing a little bit like Alonso normally does, who's a pivot. But he just, he was basically trying to tie up the defence and try and help the defence, but he didn't actually offer much an attack at that point. But I thought that every time he did go forward, he was excellent, and I just wanted to see more of him going forward. So how did Arsenal manage to make us look so poor? How did Arsenal manage to make us look so slow, so lethargic? Well, the answer is simple. If you look at this picture right now, what Arsenal did, and that was very smart by them, they blocked our first 3 to 4 contacts in front of us out, so that all we could do is essentially either switch to play or pass it sideways. So we found it really difficult to pass forwards. As you can see, they were using man marking, so we couldn't pass forward. So the only thing that we could essentially do is, either in this case, Alaba, who has the ball, could either drive forward and try and get past him, in which case Arsenal would try and press him and then try and either switch to play or try and pass while being surrounded by 3 to potentially 4 players. Or Arsenal could or Alaba could just pass the ball to Boateng, who then Arsenal would switch the marking system to the left, and we'd essentially be in the same position. And that's what Arsenal essentially did throughout the whole match when we had the ball between Alonso, Boateng, or Alaba. So this image here is when Arsenal actually won the ball back after Boateng tried to chip the ball to Lewandowski, who was a little bit on the wing, not in the centre forward position that you'd normally expect him to be, but he was trying to make space for himself, and Boateng tried to chip, but as mentioned, Arsenal would man-mark the first few playable positions, in this case Lewandowski as well, which is where they intercepted it and headed out counter from. Now, Lewandowski trying to create space for himself was seen a lot in this game, as he didn't find much space and much joy playing through the middle, as he was pretty much contained. So he went a lot to the wings to try and get the ball, try and be more active in play, but that also meant that we didn't have a centre forward in the actual centre forward position, which is why we looked so toothless. Now, as I mentioned before, whenever we had the ball, whenever Boateng, Alaba or Alonso had the ball, Arsenal would use a lot of man-to-man marking. But whenever they actually tried to go forward with the ball, we'd see an insane pressing by Arsenal. That obviously meant that either Boateng, Alaba or Alonso would mostly lose the ball or try and pass the ball in the last second. In this case, in this picture, in this example that you can see here, if Boateng passed the ball to Lam, who's at the wings right now, who was able to pass the ball to Muller, we'd be able to actually start a good counter-attack with so many Arsenal players out of position. But this was so difficult to do, as Arsenal was always marking and always pressing so vigorously. So it was very difficult to do, and it literally required us to play very, very fast and almost draw them in, almost hook, line and sinker them into pressing so that we could exploit that, which is very dangerous to do, as if we were to lose that battle, then Arsenal would be on for a counter. Now, there weren't just bad moments from Bayern players, there was actually some good moments as well, and in particular that was Douglas Costa. Now, in the first half especially, not so much in the second half, but in the first half especially, the reason why he looked so dangerous every time he got the ball was because he kept width, which is, he was basically the only player that actually tried to keep width, and that was really useful for us because, as you can see in this picture, it meant that we would spread out Arsenal's defenders, Arsenal's centre-backs, and Arsenal's second line of four, that, you know, we'd be able to have players make runs inside the box with Arsenal players chasing. So Douglas Costa was that effective on the wings due to the fact that he was simply spread out, because all our other teams, all our other players, as you can see in these images, were all narrow, which really stopped us from exploiting much and having much space, which is what we need. Now, I do not fault Müller and Thiago for being so narrow, as both of them are not natural wingers and both of them are not used to keeping space, keeping to the flanks, keeping to the touchline. Both of them rather want to come inside, create something, or in case of Thomas Müller, score goals. So yeah, essentially we needed one more winger, maybe in Coman, Robin, if he would have been fit, or Ribery, to really stretch out the play. But obviously we did not have that, and that's why we had such a narrow game on one side, whereas the other side would be so open. It was a bit of a crazy thing, but yeah, it is what it is. Another problem was that even if we did have the ball on the wings, even if we were able to pass it, to cross it into the box, our wingers weren't fast enough. Our players on wings weren't fast enough. Lam, he's just not fast enough anymore due to his age. It is what it is. Müller, he's just not, he's not the fastest player. He's fast, but not really the fastest player out there. And Thiago, he isn't the fastest player either. So it ended up being us getting the ball on the wings occasionally if the players were there sometimes, and then trying to cross in. But by that time, Arsenal would already have 5-6 man in the box against our players. That would have no chance of winning, especially against Mertesacker, who is a beast in the air. So normally you'd win against him in the air if you had a superiority in the box, such as a 2 versus 1, so that one player could take it while he focused on the other player. But in this case, Arsenal just had too many men in the box due to our lack of pace on the wings. Now, I do not want to drag this video on too long, but all I want to say is that Arsenal made us look really bad, and we essentially made us look bad as well, due to the simple fact that we didn't actually have a second winger to spread the play out. But Arsenal still did a great job defending against us. Now, I do want to say that the goals that Arsenal scored, the reason why I'm not actually going to look at them is simply due to the fact that the first goal was, well, a keeping error. It was from a set piece, and I don't really do it with set pieces because that is just, it is what it is. Set pieces are what they are. And the second part, the second goal was basically a miscommunication by Bayern, and that's about it. Alaba passing to Bernat was basically a miscommunication. Bernat thought, let's go for the attack. Alaba thought, I'm going to pass you the ball so that you can actually run forward with it. Whereas Bernat, he was just thinking, let's run, and Alaba can then do a long ball. So it was a miscommunication, and that's how the second goal happened. But overall, I do think that if Robin is healthy for the second match, we'll be able to actually see the difference due to the simple fact that we'll have 2 wingers able to play. And even if Robin isn't fit by then, Coman can come in. But as always, people, this was Mia TV. Rate, comment, favorite, and subscribe. Peace out and have a nice day. Bye. Hi, this was Mia TV, and if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, as they always help, and also make sure that you're subscribed so you're up to date with the latest content. Also, follow me on Twitter if you want to see, hear, and view more. Thank you. Peace out.